Welcome to the Night Shadows channel. Get ready to dive into a new horror story. Put on your headphones, turn off the lights, and let your mind wander through the darkest corners of imagination. But before we begin, make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell so you don't miss any of our daily stories. Now, take a deep breath and step into the story, if you dare. Clara felt her heart race, the doubt in the woman's voice echoing the fear that lingered in many of their hearts. "We may be simple villagers," she replied, her voice firm, "but we are strong together. We've faced this darkness before, and we have the power to confront it again." A murmur of agreement rippled through the crowd, but Clara sensed a lingering uncertainty. "We need to arm ourselves with knowledge and strategy. We'll hold nightly meetings to discuss what we can do, what we can learn from the past, and how we can prepare for what lies ahead." As she spoke, Clara's mind raced with thoughts of the symbols they had seen in the cave, the history of their ancestors. There is a story to be uncovered in our past, a lesson in those carvings. We must dig deeper into our history. With newfound resolve, the villagers nodded, a flicker of hope igniting in their eyes. They began to discuss ways they could defend themselves, pooling their knowledge and skills. Clara felt a surge of gratitude for this community, their strength giving her courage in the face of uncertainty. That evening, the village gathered once more under the stars, the atmosphere heavy with anticipation. Clara stood at the forefront, surrounded by her friends and fellow villagers. "Tonight, we share our fears and our hopes. We'll face this darkness together, and through our unity, we will find the strength to overcome." As they spoke, Clara couldn't shake the feeling that they were being watched. She glanced at the trees bordering the village, their shadows lengthening in the dim light. The rustling leaves seemed to whisper secrets, and she felt a shiver run down her spine. The villagers began to share their stories, their fears manifesting in the open air. Clara listened intently, her heart aching for their struggles. Each tale was a thread woven into the fabric of their collective experience, binding them together in their shared plight. But as the night wore on, a sense of unease settled in. The shadows grew darker, and Clara felt an inexplicable dread creeping in. It was as if the darkness was inching closer, slipping through the cracks of their resolve, testing their newfound unity. "Something is coming," Clara whispered to Tomas, who stood beside her, his brow furrowed with concern. "I can feel it." Before he could respond, the air grew heavy, a thick fog rolling in from the woods. The villagers exchanged nervous glances, the flickering lanterns casting eerie shadows that danced along the ground. Clara's pulse quickened as she scanned the trees, an instinctive warning echoing in her mind. "Stay together," she shouted, gripping the torch tightly. "Don't let it separate us." The fog thickened, swirling like a living entity, and a chilling wind whipped through the square, carrying with it a low, mournful wail that sent shivers down Clara's spine. The villagers huddled closer, fear gripping their hearts. "Do you hear that?" Tomas asked, his voice barely a whisper. Clara nodded, her throat dry. "It's here." As if on cue, figures began to emerge from the fog, shadows shaped like twisted versions of their worst fears, grotesque and haunting. Each one bore the visage of something personal, something that had plagued the villagers for years, regrets, failures, and unspoken doubts. "Stand firm," Ms. Elena shouted, raising her arms. "We will not be swayed by our fears." The villagers rallied, their voices rising in unison, a powerful affirmation against the encroaching darkness. Clara felt the energy swell around them, a protective barrier forming as they faced the shadows. Yet, in the depths of her heart, she knew this was just the beginning. The figures swirled closer, their wails merging into a cacophony of despair, threatening to drown out the voices of the villagers. Clara's heart raced as she caught glimpses of familiar faces twisted in anguish, lost in the shadows that threatened to consume them. "Hold on to your light," Clara cried out, gripping the torch with both hands. "Remember who you are and what we stand for." The villagers focused on Clara's words, their voices intertwining in a melodic chant that resonated in the air. Clara felt the warmth of their unity enveloping her, pushing back against the chill that threatened to take hold. But the darkness was relentless, pressing in from all sides. Clara could feel the weight of despair clawing at her heart, each wail echoing the fears she had buried deep within herself. She took a deep breath, summoning every ounce of courage. "Together!" Clara shouted, raising the torch high, its light blazing defiantly against the shadows. "We are stronger than our fears. We will not be broken." The villagers echoed her words, their voices rising above the wails. The darkness recoiled, hesitating in the face of their resolve. Clara could feel the tide shifting, the shadows faltering as the light pierced through the gloom. "Now!" Ms. Elena commanded, her voice steady. "Push forward." With renewed determination, the villagers advanced, holding their ground against the looming figures. Clara felt the air thrum with energy, the light expanding outward as they pressed on. The shadows writhed and twisted, but they could not withstand the power of unity. As the last remnants of darkness began to dissipate, Clara's heart soared. They had faced their fears, and though the battle had been fierce, they had emerged victorious once more. But as the fog cleared, a foreboding sense of dread settled over Clara. She knew this confrontation was only a precursor to the greater battle that lay ahead. The darkness would return, stronger and more cunning, testing their resolve in ways they could not yet imagine. As the night wore on, the villagers gathered closer, sharing stories of their fears and triumphs, a sense of camaraderie blossoming among them. Clara stood at the edge of the square, her heart heavy with the knowledge that the storm was far from over. But she also felt a flicker of hope igniting within her, a belief that together, they could face whatever awaited them. In that moment, Clara vowed to uncover the truth behind the darkness and to strengthen the bonds that would see them through the coming trials. They would not just fight against the shadows, they would learn to harness their light, turning it into a beacon that would guide them through the storm. The dawn of a new day arrived, but Clara's spirit felt heavy with the remnants of the previous night's chaos. The village was alive with activity, but an undercurrent of tension lingered in the air, a palpable reminder of the darkness that had nearly consumed them. As Clara moved through the bustling streets, she felt a deep-seated unease settle in her stomach, as if the shadows were not merely a thing of the past but a lurking presence, waiting for the right moment to strike. "Clara?" Tomas' voice broke through her thoughts. He hurried toward her, his brow furrowed with concern. "Did you sleep at all last night?" Clara shook her head, her eyes scanning the horizon, searching for any sign of the shadows. "No. I couldn't shake the feeling that we haven't seen the last of it." Tomas nodded solemnly. "I feel it too. There's something different about the air today. Like the village is holding its breath." As they walked together, Clara's mind turned to the stories they had shared in the village square, each tale unraveling layers of fear and doubt. Yet, the question remained, what was the source of this darkness? Why did it keep returning? "Maybe we need to dig deeper into our history," Clara suggested, her voice steady despite the uncertainty swirling within her.